Hey, what's up? We're back for another week of predictions, and this week it's UFC 229, probably the biggest card of the, in the MMA history, probably for MMA, so it's going to be a big-time fight card, and we're going to be breaking it down here, and we're going to get right into it. I really want to talk about this fight card, so I think that we're going to go a little bit longer, so I don't really want to delve into Bellator or anything, but big win from Gegard Mousasi. It was a good job from him, and we did pretty good on our picks there. But the first fight of the night for this card is Ryan LaFleur against Tony Martin. And this is going to be a fun fight. The winner will most likely get a top 15 matchup. I heard Tony Martin tell James Lynch that Sean Shelby said him and LaFleur are the two most boring fighters on the roster. So there is a chance the loser gets handed his walking papers here. But, I actually disagree with that. I think Tony Martin's pretty fun to watch. I do get maybe why you would say that about Ryan LaFleur. But Tony Martin has been in some entertaining fights. He had a fun fight with OAM. He had a fun fight with Johnny Case. So I kind of disagree with that. But Martin's a well-rounded fighter. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that I've been pretty high on him for a long time now. And he's moved to his camp to ATT. He has some perfect sparring partners for this matchup. He's getting work with fighters, like Colby Covington, who's another southpaw wrestler similar to Flair. Better wrestling, better cardio, in my opinion. I mean, he's the UFC champion, and also he has a he also trains with southpaw striker Dustin Poirier. He's far and away a better striker than LaFleur, so Martin is getting really solid looks in camp, and he also looked very solid in his first fight at 170, so we'll see if he can get the job done here. But Tony Martin's fast, he's athletic, he has nice fluid punches and kicks, much more fluid on the feet in my opinion than LaFleur is. He has a nice jab, great straight right hand. He always has his right hand cocked, ready to counter. In the pocket, he has big faith in his chin, he plants his feet, eats shots to give shots. He is a bit stationary on the feet, he is there to be hit in the pocket, doesn't move his head off center line sometimes, can be hit with straight punches. But he'll try to counter with the left hook, right straight combination. He lands decent leg kicks. He has good power on his straight right hand, but he doesn't necessarily have one-punch knockout power, I wouldn't say. He has a solid jab, and he really gets comfortable throwing counters in the pocket. If he can get confidence, find his range, he's going to be a much faster fighter on the feet, and I think he should look to keep distance, keep LaFleur on the end of his right hand. And, he has a great chin. He's never been finished by strikes, so definitely has a lot of faith in that chin. And Tony Martin's a very good grappler. He actually came into the UFC as almost like a pure grappler, and now since he's rounded out his game, fighters have been trying to take him down, so it's kind of interesting. But he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's tricky with his sweeps and submission game. Good takedown defense. Does a good job sprawling shot attempts and/or digging an underhook, disengaging in the clinch. He has a great Kimura. He uses that Kimura to defend takedowns, create a scramble, or just finish it like he did versus Fabricio Camoes. And he can be taken down if he gets trapped against the cage. He doesn't have great body lock takedown defense. And OAM was able to take him down in that position, win the fight due to top control. It was a close fight, though. Off his back, he does do a good job getting butterfly hooks from full guard, trying to kick his opponent off, stand back up to his feet. He also used that butterfly guard to sweep the top position, where he's very dangerous. He does attack with triangles and arm bars off his back, but I doubt that would be very effective against someone with heavy top pressure like LaFleur. And if Martin can get on top of LaFleur, I think LaFleur could be in trouble, though. Martin has very fast transitions on the ground, moves quickly to the back mount, he looks for the rear naked choke. I doubt Martin will do much offensive wrestling in this fight. But LaFleur was also taken down by Alex Garcia. He lost a few scrambles against Alex Garcia, so maybe he will try to get a late takedown in rounds. But in my opinion, Martin should try to use his striking advantage, his speed advantage, play the outside game, and, keep LaFleur at the end of his shots. And Ryan LaFleur, he's kind of, like I said, a rather boring fighter. So far in the UFC, he has 9 fights, 8 have gone to decision. He's 7-2. He has 7 decision wins, 1 decision loss, and a KO loss. And he's a big, long guy for the division. He's a good wrestler. His striking's only okay. I believe Martin has a pretty sizable advantage in the stand-up. But LaFleur really likes to accentuate his reach, avoid being in dangerous positions, such as the pocket, as much as possible. He tries to stay either all the way out or all the way in. And he will throw a jab, straight left hand. He has solid front kicks to the body, good round kick to the body. Also throws some decent inside-outside leg kicks. He does have some decent hand speed. He can land some solid combinations, especially if he can get you moving backwards. And he controls distance very well. He keeps heavy pressure. Uses good fakes and feints, decent false starts, disguise what he's going to throw. He does a good job getting you to go second. Keeps himself going first. He has a solid check left hook, But he does struggle when there's extended combinations in the pocket. He keeps his chin a little high. He can get hurt with punches. He was rocked by Mike Pierce, and then he got knocked out very badly by Cowboy Oliveira. He keeps his hands low, and he can be kind of obvious sometimes in the way he closes distance, get caught coming in. And you don't need to get Martin moving backwards toward the cage before he shoots or takedown attempts, and he can't just close the distance like that because I think Martin could capitalize on that. And, for LaFleur, he is a great wrestler. He wins the majority of his fights by grinding out his opponents from top control. He was a good high school wrestler. He wrestled a little bit in college, but ultimately quit wrestling and play lacrosse. But, he still is a good wrestler in MMA. He doesn't shoot takedowns in space, and almost all his takedowns happen in the clinch. He does a great job using his size and length to control his opponents in the clinch. Ultimately finds the takedowns. And on top, he has very heavy top control, but he isn't that dangerous. He kind of just likes to move into half guard, get into cross body position where he can really have great control, and then he'll just hold guys down, laying short shots. But he doesn't really open up with big ground and pound or hunt for submissions. Much more of a lay and pray guy. He's very hard to get up from under, and if he takes you down, you're probably going to spend a majority of that round on your back. He does tend to get a bit tired as the fight goes on. I wouldn't say he has bad cardio or gases, but Martin has the better gas tank in my opinion. And LaFleur should look to use his size in this fight. He needs to get Martin against the fence, in the clinch, get the takedowns. And I don't think LaFleur will be able to do much damage, if any, on top. But if he can, take Martin down, get top control, he could be able to win a decision here. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Tony Martin with the upset, man. I think he's going to win by third round KO. I think Martin is the better striker. I think he's going to be able to keep the distance, land his right hand. And I see LaFleur getting more and more frustrated, getting touched up from the outside. And ultimately, I see him closing the distance too obviously, and getting caught with the shot coming in and put down, So I know Tony Martin is the underdog, like I said, but I'm pretty confident in this pick, and I feel this is a good spot for him, with all his training partners he's getting. He's at a very good camp now, has a very high level of confidence, and, I think he's going to be able to get it done here. So I'm going to go with Tony Martin to get the win. And up next, you have Alan Patrick against Scott Holtzman. And, this could be a fun fight, but, has a potential to be a good fight with a lot of good grappling, good scrambling. And Alan Patrick, will be wanting to take the fight to the ground, while Scott Holtzman will be wanting to make him pay for the takedown attempts. And maybe go for takedowns himself, who knows. But Scott Holtzman is a good athlete. He's a tough dude. His striking isn't that good, but, he uses a lot of big movements to close the distance. He doesn't really have a jab or many setups. And will come with a wide right hook, followed up with a left hook. Pretty good accuracy on his right hand when he finds his range, but gets good strikers. They can land as he closes the distance and stymie a majority of his striking attacks. He will throw big head kicks, flying knees to try to close the distance, get in the clinch. He does keep good pressure on his opponents. He has a good chin. He'll eat big shots, and he's willing to keep coming, take shots, and, try to give his own. And he showed good heart against Josh Emmett. He doesn't have big knockout power, and, he only has 3 TKOs in his career, but he's never been finished by strikes himself, so he has shown a very good chin. He's a good wrestler. He does a good job closing distance against the cage, getting double leg takedowns. He also has a nice body lock. On top, he has pretty good ground and pound elbows. He'll try to stuff you against the cage, land shots. He has decent top control, but opponents are able to stand up from bottom on him. He does have 1 submission in the UFC by rear naked choke, but he isn't a big submission threat. He has pretty good takedown defense himself. He does a good job making opponents pay with elbows. And when they attempt to take him down, he also does a good job staying big, really spreading his base and making himself hard to get double legs on against. But when he does get taken down, he does a good job of bellying down, standing up. He does a good job of not allowing his opponents to get the hooks in, being able to scramble to his feet. But that could be a problem against Al Patrick, a very fast scrambler. He could be able to take the back in that sort of position. But, he does have the cardio to wrestle all day. He has good cardio for 3 rounds. But Holtzman needs to close the distance, land punches on Patrick. He doesn't like to get hit much. And if he could defend the takedowns and make Alan Patrick work and stay on the feet, he has a chance to get an upset here. But Alan Patrick's a freak athlete. He's a very explosive wrestler. He has more of a lay and pray kind of style. He doesn't do a ton of damage on top or look for many submissions. His striking is only okay, but he is a good athlete. And you'll get opponents thinking about the shot. They come up top of straight left hands. He doubles and triples up on the straight left hand, and he'll duck under, get an easy takedown. He closes the distance very quickly, keeps his opponents guessing with what he wants to do. He has nice kicks. He'll throw the spinning back heel kick and other type of kicks, spinning heel kicks to the head. But, you know, he doesn't set them up very well, and they're really only to close the distance. He has a good chin. He's only been finished one time in his career against Myrbek Taisimov, who's a bit of a knockout artist. And he's a great wrestler, and that's what he's going to be looking to do in all of his fights. He does a great job closing distance with punches, then ducking under, hitting the double leg. Good body lock takedowns as well. Very powerful driving through on his shots. On top, he's heavy, very hard to get up from bottom on. Damir Hadzovic was able to stand up a couple times, bellying down, giving his back to stand up, something Holtzman does quite well. But as the fight went on, Hadzovic was starting to get his back taken instead of finding with his back to his feet with that maneuver. So Patrick was able to kind of see that, pinpoint it, and then address it. And Patrick has great guard passes. He'll jump immediately into side control. And once he finds dominant positions, he'll throw down left hands. But he's much more about position than damage or submission. And if you can retain your guard against Patrick, he is vulnerable to submissions, but he has never tapped out. But Damir Hadzovic, who's not known for his BJJ, almost caught him in an armbar and in a triangle. Patrick is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He stayed calm. He worked his way out of those submissions. And I don't think he'll panic tap. And I would be very shocked, actually, to see Holtzman tap him. I'm just saying he did put himself in those situations. But he isn't much of a finisher. He's only finished 2 submissions and 4 TKOs in his entire career. But he's 9-0 when a fight goes to the scorecards. So that's a big thing, man. He's never lost a decision. He has great cardio. He could wrestle hard for 3 rounds. But he does tend to kind of gas a little bit, I guess. Maybe he has a little bit worse cardio than Holtzman. But I would say overall both these guys have pretty good cardio. But Patrick should look to get Holtzman moving backwards, then take him down. I see Holtzman possibly being able to stand up early. But as the fight goes on, I think his explosions to stand up will be slower and slower. And eventually Patrick will start to accumulate top control. Both fighters are just one UFC finish. I see the fight going the distance. I see Patrick being able to do what he does, grind out Holtzman for a 29-28 or 30-27 victory. And I'm going to go with Alan Patrick there. And up next you have Gray Maynard against Nick Lentz. And you know, what's kind of a weird fight. Gray Maynard's almost 40, but he went out and he had a great performance in his last bout against Ishihara. He still looks fast. He showed he can grind out a win versus a young prospect. He isn't a great distance striker, but he has a good overhand right to the body and to the head. He uses that overhand in close distance to land short uppercuts and hooks in the dirty boxing range. He has decent leg kicks. He'll double or triple up on his leg kick right hand combination to close the distance. But, you know, fighters can move and strike from the outside, really frustrate him. We saw that with Clay Guida. We saw that with Ryan Hall. He doesn't really like to get in a fight where he has to chase guys down. He more wants to fight in a brawl. And he's taken some punishment over his career. You know, he's been KO'd, TKO'd 4 times. But, you know, he still hasn't been finished since 2014. And, you know, so his chin has shown the ability to hold up recently, I guess. And he's still a very good wrestler. He has a solid top game. John Fitch actually said in an interview that I heard that he's one of the strongest competitors he's ever competed against at sparring, even though he's only a 155er. So definitely the Bully is a good nickname for him. And he has a good array of takedowns, very fast shots, great double leg takedowns, especially when his opponent gets the cage. He'll also shoot a single to come up for a body lock takedown. If he can't get the body lock, he'll go back down for the double. And he just stays on fighters, grinds them out. He can wear his opponents out. When he gets on top, he does a great job getting in a half guard, landing good elbows. And he has good top control. He does a good job getting to side control, then trying to get to mount, then the back. And once he gets the back, he's very good at keeping the back. And, you know, he'll look for submissions. He'll look for the rear naked choke. And he's always aware of his position, you know, so if fighters are kind of almost able to shake him off, he'll just give it up. He'll go back to a position where he feels more comfortable, and he never wants to give up that top control. And very good speed on his shots at his last fight against Ishihara, especially his double legs. And he had great cardio, you know, and he was able to take him down for all 3 rounds, and he was pretty relentless. So that was a good performance there by Gray Maynard. And this fight's a decent matchup for Maynard. He doesn't have to worry about someone kicking and moving or not wanting to engage in this fight. And he's going to get someone who's going to move forward, probably make it a wrestling match and or, you know, try to keep it standing. Because I do think Let's is a little bit better on the feet, but I don't think Let's is going to be someone that's going to be moving away. I think even if he keeps it standing, he's going to be going after Gray Maynard. So, you know, Lentz, he's going to be... you know, he has a decent jab. He has some good overhands, some good short uppercuts. And I think he is the better, more fluid striker than Gray Maynard here. So, you know, I do think on the feet he's going to have the advantage. And he's also a slick wrestler. He is a good jiu-jitsu artist. He isn't that athletic on the feet. He's kind of slow. He'll throw straight punches, then hooks. in close. He does have some decent power. And, you know, he does have a nice liver kick as well. But he could start to reach and chase on the feet. He has some poor technique at times. But he has a great chin. He's willing to eat shots and walk forward. And he's a grinder, like I said. He has good clinch takedowns. He's relentless with top, takedown attempts at times. On top, he has good control. He'll win rounds with top position. He isn't super dangerous with jiu-jitsu or ground and pound from top position, but he has a very nice guillotine off his back. He was able to get it against Will Brook and against a lot of other people. And he's very tricky off his back. He's more tricky off his back with submissions than on top. He has good guillotines, good triangles, nice leg locks. Does a good job of scrambling back to top position. Good butterfly guard. He'll try to sweep. You know, he can get taken out with body locks. If you pass his guard, you can control him on the ground. But he's very mentally strong. He's never going to accept position or defeat. And you have to beat this guy, man. You have to take him out. You have to control him for the whole fight. And for Lance, he should look to keep the fight standing, in my opinion, for the beginning portions of the round. Land the hardest shots. And then late in the round, try to get the takedowns. But I actually believe, you know, I don't know. This is a close fight for me. But even with the age, man, I think Maynard's the faster guy out there, the better overall athlete. And I see Maynard trying to implement a game plan of striking to close the distance, take it, lets down, control him against the fence. And I think he needs to be very careful of that guillotine. He needs to be very careful about it. And I think we're going to see very early who's going to win this fight, because I think that if Gray Maynard has trouble taking down Nick Lentz early and he can't do it, I think that Lentz is going to win the fight. But I don't know, man. I'm going to go with Gray Maynard. I'm going to say he's able to win, and I'm going to say he wins by split decision. I think he'll be able to take him down a few times maybe and win a close fight, man. And I'm going to go with Gray Maynard to win the fight by split decision. And up next we have Yana Kunitskaya against Lena Landsberg. And you know, Yana Kunitskaya isn't a bad fighter. She's big for 135. She's fought a lot of fights at 145. She's athletic. She's a pretty solid addition to the 135-pound division. You know, she trains at Jackson Wing. She's shown some steady improvements in her stand-up. And she has a good wrestling game. She does a good job using kicks and jabs to walk her opponents back towards the cage. And that's what she likes to clinch up and grind against the fence, as well as, you know, finding takedowns and top control. She has nice kicks. She throws them early and often. She has nice leg kicks. You know, she throws that patented oblique kick to the knee that Jackson Wink is famous for. She has good front kicks to the body, nice spinning kicks as well to the body. She'll throw a spinning heel kick to the body that's very nice, and she'll go up top to the head with it. She does a good job using feints and false starts to disguise what she's going to attack. She doesn't like to strike in the pocket much, and other than swarming with punches like the 1-2 when she has someone hurt, she doesn't really throw in the pocket. She likes to be all the way in or all the way out. But I think she's going to be much faster with the distance striking and probably have the harder shots, in my opinion, than Lena Landsberg. And Yana's a pretty good grappler. She's strong in the clinch. She does a great job getting underhooks, using head control or head position to control her opponents against the cage. She'll attack with good knees to the body. And, you know, she can control girls for portions of the round and just win rounds that way. She isn't much of a wrestler. She won't go for offensive takedowns much. But she does have a good takedown defense. She does a solid job reversing, taking top position that way. And when fighters attempt to take her down, she will do a good job digging underhooks and, you know, turning them around, pushing them against the cage where she could control them there. And when she was put on her back by Tanya Evinger, she showed a very nice ground game, you know, off of her back. She was very aggressive with her guard. She'll attack not only with elbows but submissions. She had a nasty armbar that she caught Tanya Evinger with in the first fight. And she does a great job when she goes for the armbar. She'll hook your leg. Then if she can't get the armbar, she'll start to attack with a heel hook or try to sweep the top position. She's very calm on her back. She doesn't take much damage. And if she's in her guard, you know, she's going to be aggressive. And she's going to try to submit you. But it does come with risk. You know, if she can't get the submission, sometimes fighters are able to, you know, kind of put some heavy top pressure on, stack her, and then move right into side control, which is what Tanya Evinger was able to do after she survived the submission attempts. And once she passed her guard, you know, you could tell that she was not nearly as good off her back. She ultimately took the back out the rear naked choke. And, you know, it's going to be interesting. You know, Yana got finished pretty quickly by Cyborg in her first fight, but she did have moments. You know, she took the back of Cyborg. She took her down. And, she has good cardio, and overall she's very physically strong chick, She's a big girl. And Lena Landsberg has slowly become one of the longer tenured women's bantamweight fighters in the UFC. This is going to be her 5th UFC fight. It's pretty interesting that both of these women fought Chris Cyborg in the UFC debut, but since then Landsberg has had some decent success. She's gone 2-1, but she's 36 years old. She's taken a lot of damage, but she's tough. She's very hard to put away. She's not the striker at range that Yana is, in my opinion. She's a bit slower, more clunky. She has a decent jab, good straight right hand. She likes to use the overhand right to close distance, get in the clinch. She will throw the occasional body kick, go up to the head with it, but her kicks are not very dangerous. She does a good job getting a takedown or getting the clinch and grinding there. And she has a good chin. She's willing to take a lot of damage. She'll keep coming forward. She does have a lot of scar tissue, and she has been opened up in her recent fights with getting really bloodied up. And she has been finished 3 times via TKO. And Landsberg does most of her damage in the clinch, She has good control, and she's mainly been able to win her 2 UFC fights via controlling her opponents against the cage. She does a good job getting double underhooks, using her good head positioning, and landing big elbows, big knees. But overall, she doesn't do a ton of damage in that position. She slows down as the fight goes on, and really slows down in round 3. I don't think she's won a 3rd round in any of her fights in the UFC. She did have a good performance in she did have a good performance in round 3 against Gina Mazzani. She was able to kind of come back after a second round and take the decision there. But Gina Mazzani is not a good fighter, and she was completely gassed out herself. But she should look to, I think the only way she would win is if she keeps the same game plan, clinch Yana against the cage. She may be able to land some shots on the outside, but I think she's going to be too slow. And to stay safe there, I see that she's going to try to clinch up and hold her against the cage, but overall I find this to be a hard match for Lena Landsberg. I think that both girls like to grind, but Kunitskaya is a stronger, bigger woman, and she's faster, younger, and, has more will, in my opinion, to keep going because she really wants to get that win in the UFC. And if Yana takes her down, I think she may be able to finish the fight, much like Aspen Ladd was able to. And in my opinion, I'm going to say Yana Kunitskaya is able to get it done. And I'm going to say she gets it done by 3rd round TKO. So I'm going to go with Yana Kunitskaya, and that's one of my more confident picks on the card there. And up next you have Tanya Evinger against Aspen Ladd. And what's a really close, interesting fight. Aspen Ladd is one of my favorite prospects in women's MMA. She's very young. She's only 23, constantly improving. She has great forward pressure, very good grappling. She has a high guard. She walks forward behind her jab, throws long hooks as well. She likes to cross the distance with straight punches. Good job tucking her chin. She has good combinations in close, solid head movement. She'll go body head. She throws a good front kick to the body, occasional leg kicks. She's always moving forward. She never backs up, but she definitely has great cardio and confidence about her. She's very mentally strong, and she's training every day to be the best fighter in the division. So, she's one of these fighters that's training all year round to be the best. And she's a strong grappler. She likes to strike into the clinch, take you down, and then smash you from top position. And she's very physically strong in the clinch with her double underhooks. But she can't be turned and controlled in the clinch. She needs to improve her clinch game, in my opinion. Against the cage, she, was controlled there against Lena Landsberg. I've seen her controlled there in other fights. But she has a great double leg. And in round 2, once she got that double leg on Lena Landsberg, she got on top. She was able to get right in a mount. And then finished her with big, heavy ground and pound and top pressure, big elbows. So, she's definitely someone that goes for the finish on the ground. And she was screaming as she got the finish, man, like these primal screams. So, definitely is very animated in there. And she has a great chin. She's an undefeated fighter. And I think Ladd should try to keep it standing, make Evinger pay, and close distance with punching combinations, and use a lot of lateral movement, man, because Evinger's a beast, man. Or not a beast, but she's a dog. She's someone that I don't think, even though Aspen Ladd's very physically strong, she's a good grappler, a good wrestler, I don't think she wants to sit there and try to grapple a girl like Tanya Evinger for 3 rounds. Evinger has that kind of freaky type cardio, and, I think that she should try to land the shots, angle off, and make this a boxing match. But Tanya Evinger's a dog, man. She's a former long-time Invicta Bantamweight champion. Several defenses of her title. She's beaten some decent names. But she lost her UFC debut by TKO to Chris Cyborg. But she was moving up a division and, fighting Chris Cyborg. So, You know, you got to give her a little bit of a break for that one. And she's older. She's 37. She hasn't fought in over a year, so you have to wonder if she will come back exactly the same. But Evinger's striking game, it's not great, but she has some decent power, man, and good forward pressure. She actually has a pretty snappy jab. She'll throw some leg kicks. But she actually has a nice shovel hook, kind of like an overhand right shovel hook, and she's hurt and dropped her opponents with that punch, you know. And she has very relentless forward pressure. It's going to be interesting which girl is the one moving backwards in this matchup. But she has eaten heavy shots. She's continued to come forward. She showed that against Cyborg. So I don't think the shots of Aspen Ladd, unless she lands very clean, are going to really deter Evinger from coming forward. And Tanya Evinger's a fantastic wrestler. She's big. She's very physical for the weight class. Great low single leg. She catches kicks very well and takes you down with those. She also possesses strong body lock takedowns against the cage, as well as the ability to shoot double legs in that position as well. Great hip tosses in the clinch. She has a lot of different takedown attempts. And he does a great job not letting her opponent scramble and take her back. When she does those hip tosses, she'll cement side control. And she uses her single legs in the center of the cage and her body locks and double legs more effectively against the cage. But she's effective on top, man. Very high pace and output. Great control. Excellent job of passing guard, getting cross body and half guard, landing big shots. She has great back elbow. She does a great job going knee on belly, then progressing a mount where she'll rain out some nasty elbows. She has a very good rear naked choke. She'll turn it into an arm triangle, and then if she feels she's fallen off, and then kind of move into that arm triangle position. She also has a very nice arm bar, both from the mount and from her back. And she'll attack with leg locks and scramble positions to try to retain or get top position. She's very hard to take down or hold down. And she has been submitted quite a few times in her career, so you could say her submission defense is maybe questionable. And Evinger should look to close the distance, control Ladd against the fence, get the takedowns, work her top game. And if she can get on top of Ladd early, she's definitely going to do some damage and wear her out, man. She's someone that if she gets on top of you, she's a problem for sure. And ultimately, man, I'm going to go with another upset, man. I'm going to pick the veteran Tanya Evinger. Aspen Ladd's someone who likes to grapple as well. She's only 6-0. And she hasn't had to rely on winning a fight with her striking yet, you know. So I believe that she's going to revert back at some point to her grappling ways. I think Evinger's going to make this a dogfight. And I'm going to say Evinger's able to win a decision here. I'm going to say she's able to take out Aspen Ladd and get a big-time win. So I'm going to go with Tanya Evinger. And up next we have Sergio Pettis. He's going to be fighting Jussier Formiga. And, man, I love this fight. Fantastic fight. Both fighters have been in top form recently, so this should be a good one, man. Jussier Formiga doesn't get mentioned enough when we talk about the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in MMA. And he's rounded out his kickboxing skills. You know, he now looks like a serious threat for the title. He's a technical striker. He's really improved that part of his game. He likes to close the distance with a jab, straight right hand. He'll also throw a jab, left hook combo. Very fantastic leg kicks. He's really improved his leg kicks. Very hard leg kicks now. He'll throw those low leg kicks that are really debilitating to the calf. He's more of a counter striker. He likes to wait for fighters to close the distance and land the right hook. He'll land wide hooks when he's in the pocket. And he needs to minimize fighting in the pocket against Pettis because he has slower hands. He can get hit with short shots. And I think that if they fight in the pocket, he's going to get hit clean with those counter left hooks that Sergio loves to throw. You know, but he landed a really nasty spinning back fist in his last fight to drop Ben win, and then ultimately finished him with a submission. But he uses his overhand right to grab a hold of the clinch, then he tries to dig double underhooks. He'll land big knees from that position. And he's fought the best of the best, man. He's found good success. He has been TKO'd twice, but he's striking has vastly improved since then, since when he's fought guys like Joseph Benavidez and John Dodson. And Formiga's an elite grappler, man. He isn't an amazing wrestler in terms of shooting singles and doubles, but he gets the majority of his takedowns in the clinch with body locks or by catching kicks. And when he takes fighters down, he's great on top. He has fantastic guard passes. He'll move from half guard right into mount. Great top control. And when he gets in a mount, man, you're not getting him off of you, man. He'll really land punches until you give him his back, or you give him your back. And then once he has the back, he's one of the best, you know, back takers and you know, back control in MMA, man. He can slide his hooks in with the quickness, and once he takes the back, he gets that you know, body triangle. And most likely, you're going to be there for the whole round, or you're going to get submitted, man. He's finished his last 2 wins via rear naked chokes. So, you know, he's in very good form. And this most likely is going to be his last chance to get a title fight. So I guarantee he's been training like a wild man for this match, and really been putting his all into this. And Formiga should look to be on the outside or the clinch. He should not spend time in boxing range. I can see Pettis landing those tight hooks in the pocket, like I said, and hurting Formiga. And Formiga needs to look to get the fight to the ground, get a submission. If he can get the takedown on Pettis, then, Pettis has got his back taken by lesser BJJ fighters like Brandon Moreno, and I think he could be in serious trouble if a guy like Formiga gets on his back or even gets on top of him. But Sergio Pettis is arguably, one of the better strikers in the UFC, and he had one of the best performances in his last fight of his career. He scored a big upset victory over Joseph Benavidez. He was able to defend the majority of the takedowns from Benavidez, and that should be helpful for this matchup versus Formiga as well. And Pettis is, he's a really big and long bantamweight, or big and long flyweight, and he's a good athlete for the division. Very excellent striker. He throws tight, straight punches. Very little to no telegraph. They're very deadly accurate. He also has very formidable kicks in his arsenal. He can work from both stances. He likes to throw round kicks to the body and to the head. Nice inside leg kicks. He hasn't thrown many kicks in his last two fights versus wrestling matchups, and I feel once again he'll kind of holster his kicks for this one. Pettis does have one of the best jabs in the UFC. He does a great job jabbing in the pocket, stepping back, making you miss, and then countered with a short shot. Fighters don't see coming. Very nice pull counters with his right hand. Very nice 1-2. He'll throw a very nice, accurate check left hook. He really hurt Joseph Benavidez with that check left hook in his last fight. Very good defense. He's always keeping the punch at the end of his punches. But the few times he has been clipped, he showed maybe he doesn't have the best chin. He's been finished twice in the UFC, and both by finish with, he got rocked in those fights. At 25, he looks to be coming into his own, though. He's one of the best strikers in the division. And he isn't the grappler that his brother Anthony is, but his guard is still pretty dangerous. And he has good sweeps, good job of controlling range on the feet, so he doesn't get taken down as much. And I think he has better takedown defense than his brother. But, Henry Cejudo was able to get him down to doubles and singles. But Henry's an anomaly, and Joseph Benavidez, who's a great wrestler, really struggled to take Pettis down. Pettis was able to make him pay when he closed the distance with short, stinging punches. And kind of disengaged from the clinch, and Benavidez was going for a lot of clinch takedowns, which is what Formiga likes to do, and Pettis was showing that he is able to defend those, so that should give him confidence in this fight on the feet, that he's able to defend Formiga's takedowns, and he will try to get a guillotine if he can time the takedown and throw up the submission, but that's not really a smart thing to do in this fight. He will use submissions from his guard, but fighters have been able to easily pass his guard. He needs to avoid being taken out at all costs in this fight. And Pettis should look to keep the same game plan he had in his last fight. Stick and move, keep the distance, land fast, straight, sinking shots, land big punches in the pocket. If he can make Formiga pay for closing distance, keep this fight on the feet, he has a good chance to win. And ultimately, I'm going to pick Sergio Pettis. I believe that we really will see the best version of Jussier Formiga. And I think Pettis is a bit inactive at times, so it could give Formiga some opportunities to win periods of this fight, even in the stand-up. And this is a very winnable and close fight for both guys, but I'm going to say Pettis wins by split decision in this fight. So I'm going to go with Sergio Pettis to defeat Jussier Formiga. And now we're on to the main card. The first fight of the main card is Michelle Waterson against Felice Herrig. And, interesting fight. Felice Herrig racked up 4 wins in a row before she lost a split decision to perennial contender Karolina Kowalkiewicz. And Michelle Waterson is snapping a 2-fight losing streak in her last fight, which she had a very contentious decision over Courtney Casey. I actually rewatched that again, and I thought she lost. But, they gave her the win in there. And both these girls are OGs in the fight game. They've almost fought on multiple occasions. Both of them started their career way back in Fight Girls promotion in 2007. And Felice has been wanting this fight for a long time, so she's finally getting her chance here. And Michelle Waterson's a karate black belt. She has some decent grappling. She is a bit undersized for the division, but she's athletic. She's quick. She uses a lot of lateral movement. Really relies on a lot of kicks. She'll use her jab and then throw a jab hook combination, but she's often out of range with her punches. She's not extremely effective. Doesn't really have good range with them. She'll throw a right hook, then a left kick or a body kick combination. And she will throw front kicks to the body, good front kicks to the head. She has good speed on her kicks, but they don't pack huge power, but they do keep fighters off of her. She's able to keep her range and movement with them. She was getting pieced up whenever she would get a boxing range against Casey, and I feel Herrig had the same advantage in the boxing department. And she was feeling some of those shots. She wasn't reacting the best. And she's also going to be the weaker fighter physically in this matchup. I feel Felice definitely has a chance to grind her out against the cage, and it could be successful using a game plan like that. But Michelle's only been finished one time with strikes, so she definitely is a tough fighter. And, she did get fucked up pretty bad by Rose Namajunas on the feet, dropped to the head kick, but I guess that was a submission loss. Waterson actually is a pretty solid wrestler. She has a good single leg at space, very quick shot. She also loves to get in a clinch, land the body locks. She used the head and arm throw, which I don't really like, but she's pretty successful with it usually. She does have 8 submission victories, and she's solid on the mat. She does a great job getting the mouth and taking the back into the rear naked choke. Decent takedown defense, but if she is taken down, she'll be active off her back. She has good arm bars. She'll try to sweep to top position if possible. She can't get submitted herself. She was almost submitted multiple times in her last matchup, and she's been submitted 3 times in the past. So Waterson should look to use a ton of lateral movement, try to get Felice a chaser. And if she can get Felice to play the bull, she'll have a chance to play the matador here, and I'll strike her to a decision victory. And Felice Herrig is a well-rounded, durable fighter. She's been putting it down for years. She's in the best form of her career, and she's really turned it around. She's a good boxer. She has a nice right hand. She's a bit stiff, but she has good footwork, does a good job landing her punches and then getting out of range for the counters. Nice 1-2, good body kicks. Does a good job going over and around her opponent's guard, find shots that, that are able to get through. She has no problem throwing down, staying in the pocket, throwing power with her shots. Very good check left hook. She does a good job coming into the game plan, being able to exploit the weaknesses of her opponents defensively. She landed a very nice right hook and then a 1-2 against Alexa Grasso very consistently. And then against Justine Kish, she was able to use a left hook, and she was able to use that same left hook against Courtney Casey. So she has shown the ability to use different game plans, throw different strikes. She'll throw the front kick to the body, head kick, and to the head occasionally, but she is the big kicker other than the leg kicks. She will throw some occasional leg kicks. She has a good chin. She's willing to eat shots to give them back, but she doesn't react well to getting hit to the body sometimes, and she can duck down when she throws punches, leaving herself susceptible to uppercuts and front knees. But Herrig definitely will have the power advantage in her hands, and she should look to exploit that. Felice has never been finished by strikes, so don't think that she will have to worry about that much against Michelle unless she gets hit flush with like a big kick or something. But Herrig is super physical for the division. She's one of the strongest fighters at strawweight, and she likes to work away into clinch where she can exert her physical dominance. She'll dig for double underhooks, land hard body lock takedowns. She has heavy top control. She does a good job scrambling and earning good top position. When she's on top, she has good ground and pound. She'll work to the mouth, then to the back at the rear naked choke. I also do believe she will be able to potentially take the back of Waterson if Waterson tries to do that head and arm throw against Felice. Felice has a good arm bar for her back, but if she gets put on her back, she's not very dangerous. And but I think it's going to be very hard for Michelle to take her down in a clinch. So Michelle's going to need to shoot singles and doubles and have good timing to have a chance at takedowns. Felice has been submitted one time in her career against Randa Marcos. But, overall, she's very good with jiu-jitsu realm. She has great cardio, and her cardio is better than Waterson's. And Felicia tried to walk down Waterson, but stay at her range, close the distance, land her punches, then work for late takedowns or cage control. She's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. And if she can land her hooks and her 1-2s, deny the takedown attempts of Waterson, I see her winning this fight. I see Herrig using a very similar game plan to the fight she had against Alexa Grasso. Close the distance, but then try to draw out the counters, or draw out the attacks and then wait for counters, and then look for late takedowns to seal the rounds. And I think Waterson's going to get tagged up and hurt by Felice with punches. I don't think she's going to be able to get her grappling game going, and I think Felice is going to even land a few dominant body lock takedowns in the clinch, and I think she's going to be able to use those takedowns, use that boxing to seal a unanimous decision victory here. And I'm going to go with Felice Herrig to win by decision in that fight. And up next, you have Alexander Volkov taking on Derek the Black Beast Lewis. This should be a fun heavyweight scrap. Alexander Volkov is undefeated in the UFC. He's coming off a pretty emphatic win against former UFC champion Fabricio Verdun by knockout. He's going to be taking on the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, who's coming off an upset win over Francis Ngannou. No matter how boring it was, I think a win here should almost all but guarantee a title shot for either guy. And, You know, it's going to be a big time win for whoever gets it. But Alexander Volkov's a big, imposing fighter. He's 6'7" and a very solid striker. He's athletic for someone his size. He likes to walk his opponents down, keep him at the end of his strikes. Very good jab, stiff and powerful. He really busts his opponents up. He likes to close the distance with a 1-2. He has decent hooks and uppercuts in the pocket. His defense in the pocket is not great. He's there to be hit sometimes. And when he closes the distance with punches, he can sometimes get a little bit wild, just close the distance with straight right, left hands, and not really care about defense. So if he does that against Derek Lewis, he could get put to sleep, you know, because he's been able to kind of get away with that because of his length. But Derek Lewis has a 79-inch reach, which is only 1 inch less than Volkov, so that could potentially cause him trouble, you know. But the best part of Volkov's game is definitely his kicks, and that's going to give Derek Lewis a hard time, in my opinion. He has hard inside leg kicks, a great front kick to the body. He'll throw the front kick to the body with both legs. You know, he can do it even with the front leg, with the right leg, and with the left leg, he'll go to the head as well with the body kick or with the front kick. So he's very dangerous with those kicks. He has nice step-in knees, and he can be a really killer on the feet when he finds his range. And you know, when he had you hurt, he can go for the finish, and he really, really pounces. You know, we saw how bad that knockout was against Fabricio Verdum. But he has been hurt before in the UFC. You know, Timothy Johnson has dropped him before. And he needs to be careful not to get hit against a one-punch finisher like Derek Lewis, you know. But he's only been KO'd one time in his career, so he has shown a solid chin. And Volkov is not the greatest grappler, but he's steadily improved in it. He was able to deny the takedown attempts of Fabricio Verdum in their last match mostly. And he was able to survive on the floor with him in the first round. He has good takedown defense in space especially, but if opponents can push him against the cage, they have a better chance of finishing. He does do a good job getting a wide stance, not letting his opponents lock their hands together, and eventually circling off the cage. And if he gets takedowns, if he gets taken down, he has a good guard, he has long legs, he makes it hard to pass. Verdum was unable to pass his guard and do much damage at all on top, which is pretty shocking. And Volkov doesn't have any submissions off his back, and doesn't have many overall with just 3 in his career. But, you know, he doesn't have a great get-up game, and if he gets taken down, he usually would not get up. And on top, he has good ground and pound, you know, very good ground and pound. But he should have momentum coming to this bout, and he just uses range, stick and move. He can't get sloppy weight in the pocket like he has in the past, or he could get put to sleep, but he has the skills to beat Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis has been a peculiar case in the UFC. He's a very athletic, dynamic knockout artist some fights, and then other fights, you know, his back is him. So many problems, he barely throws a punch, so it's kind of interesting. You know, in his last fight with Francis Ngannou, the latter happened, and it was one of the worst fights in UFC history. And I'm sure he's going to be looking to bounce back, have an aggressive performance here, win or lose. And Lewis is a pretty good boxer. He closes the distance with powerful combinations. Very explosive for someone his size. He closes that distance extremely quickly. And, you know, he has a similar style to that of Yoel Romero in terms of fighting in spots. He's very inactive. He looks like he won't be doing much on the feet, and then all of a sudden he explodes with a powerful blitz attack and finishes the fight. He has a decent jab, good right hook. He likes to counter with the right hook in the pocket. Good job moving his head off center line and making you miss, then landing his own. Very good dirty boxing, good short hooks and uppercuts. He generates an extreme amount of power at a short range, man. Like his short hooks, his short uppercuts can knock you out cold, man. He's a surprisingly athletic fighter for his size. He shows that with this pretty interesting kicking game. He'll use an array of kicks, front kicks to the body. He'll throw switch kicks to the head, spinning heel kicks. Sometimes he can throw the high kick bind, but it's extremely powerful. And, you know, his opponents are forced to respect it and block it. And Lewis will slam the kick into his opponent's arms. He'll knock him off balance, and he'll explode with punching combinations. He has no problem getting in the pocket, throwing down with you. He bites out his mouthpiece. He'll go to war. He's a tough guy, and people say he's a quitter and mentally weak, but I completely disagree with that. You know, Lewis has been able to come back at these big comeback victories, and he's only been finished with strikes 3 times. He has a pretty good chin. He has the ability to take shots and recover, but he is susceptible to body shots, but he's tough. He'll battle through it, and the bottom line is you always have to be careful with the Black Beast, man. He's the definition of a knockout artist, 16 knockouts to his name. And he's an underrated grappler. He's good in the clinch. He does a great job getting underhooks, sticking with big knees to the body. He did this very effectively against Roy Nelson. He's also extremely dangerous in the dirty boxing realm. He can generate power in his short hooks and uppercuts. That just isn't normal, you know, especially in the clinch as well. And he'll shoot for double leg takedowns. He has the occasional body lock takedown. He also does a good job reversing takedowns when you go for one yourself and ending up in top position. And his ground and pound is some of the most dangerous ground and pound in MMA history, man. It's absolutely devastating. Huge hammer fist, huge elbows. If he can pass your guard and mount, the fight is as good as over, man. He's extremely heavy. He's almost impossible to get up from under. And if he gets on top of Volkov, or anyone for that matter, they're in serious trouble. Off his back, he isn't dangerous, but he has an uncanny ability to just stand up when he wants to. You know, he'll belly down, give his back, and just stand right up. And fighters haven't been able to take his back and or stop him from disengaging or clinch when he stands up. It just proves how physically strong Lewis truly is. But Derek Lewis has never been submitted. I find it hard to see Alexander Volkov being the first guy to submit him. His cardio isn't the greatest, but he's able to, have enough in the tank to finish these fights late. And he has a bunch of late TKOs in the third and fourth round. He even had a fourth round finish against Abdurakhimov. He's never out of a fight, man. He could be down 2-0 with 10 seconds left and get the knockout in the last 10 seconds, And Lewis should look to close the distance on Volkov with punches. If he can get inside, land his hooks, he can put Volkov to sleep. And also, he should possibly look for takedowns if he's losing the stand-up. But ultimately, man, I think that the kicks of Volkov are going to give Derek Lewis a lot of issues, especially the front kicks to the body. We saw that against Travis Brown, that they really bothered him. He got hurt with those kicks. And I think Volkov's going to be able to hurt him with those body kicks. And just keep his range, man. I think that Volkov's going to be very safe in this fight, play it very tentative like most of Black Beast's opponents do. And I think he's going to be able to get the win here. And I think he could TKO the Black Beast, but I'm going to say he's going to take the win by decision. But I'm going to go with Alexander Volkov in that fight. But that's a close fight. It could go either way. And up next, Dom Reyes against Ovince St. Preux. And man, this fight's fucking fireworks, man. I loved taping this fight. It pits one of the most entertaining fighters in the division's history in Ovince St. Preux against a blue chip prospect. And yeah, Dominic Reyes has been running through everyone in the first round, man. So he's definitely looked very impressive. And Ovince St. Preux, he's fought the who's who of the division. He's had mixed success. He's an extremely athletic, dynamic knockout artist. He's one of the most dangerous matchups in all of the UFC, in my opinion. He's long and rangy, very unorthodox striking style. He keeps his hands down. He'll attack from odd angles, unorthodox angles. He'll square up with his opponent a lot, which is usually a big no-no. But it gives him knockout power from both sides, and he's able to make it work. He'll explode forward with a nice straight left hand, throw hard body kicks. He's a southpaw. He likes to throw that kick to the body, then switch it up to the head. He's a much better counter-striker than he is the aggressor. Nice, long, reaching straights and big hooks. He has solid jab. His straight punches are very fast. I feel they have a chance to catch Dominic Reyes in extended combinations. When he leads, he sometimes looks a little bit sloppy. He'll throw himself out of balance. He also doesn't throw many combinations. He just goes for one-shot kill shots. He has a nice snap kick to the body and huge power in his kicks. He broke Ryan Jimbo's arm with the kick and finished a lot of people with the head kick. We saw that head kick against Corey Anderson. He has been finished 2 times himself via strikes, and but he does have a good chin, in my opinion. He has a good chin, and he's a good grappler. He's really improved his takedown defense over the years in the UFC. Very solid wrestler now. Good double legs, decent body locks. He's strong in the clinch. He can control fighters against the fence. Good knees to the body, good short punches and elbows. And his takedown defense is now very, very superior, man. Very good. He's super hard to take down in space. Great job getting his back to the fence. Great job getting wrist control. He'll get very wide. He'll make it very hard for his opponents to grab their hands together. He defended 7 of the 8 takedowns against Corey Anderson, and we all know who Corey Anderson is. He's one of the best takedown artists, not only in the light heavyweight division, but probably in the UFC. And he was able to defend a ton of his takedowns. And in the second round, he caught Corey Anderson tried to shoot with a head kick, almost knocked him out. The third round, he did the same thing, knocked him out cold. So he's analyzing when his opponents are shooting for takedowns and countering with big shots off the takedowns. So he's also very dangerous when you go for takedowns. He has a great get-up game. Even if you do take him down, he's very hard to hold down. He has some very tricky jiu-jitsu. He has a calf slicer, 3 Von Flue chokes, and his game plan should be what it always is. Be his dynamic, unorthodox self and try to finish the fight. His straight punches could be a problem for Reyes. I also think his kicks could be a problem. And this is the first fighter Reyes has fought that can match his size, speed, and athleticism, and his reach, for that matter. He's going to actually have the lesser reach of the 2 guys for this matchup.
And Dominic Reyes has came into the UFC. He's finished all 3 fighters in the first round. He hasn't fought the highest level competition. This is going to be a massive step up for him. He's a great athlete. He's very fast for his size. He's 6'4". He does a good job staying long. He has a good jab, nice body kicks. He likes to close the distance with a straight left. And that straight left hand's a piston, man. He has great speed and power on it. Good sense of range, nasty head kick. He's knocked out fighters with the head kick. I've noticed that sometimes he can allow fighters to close the distance with shots on him. That may be a problem against St. Preux. He can also look a little bit like nonchalant in certain positions against the cage or the clinch, which he cannot do in this fight. You know, Vince St. Preux is going to be dangerous at all times. And we've yet to see how good his chin is or how he comes back from adversity. He's finished all but one of his fights in the first round. He definitely has power. He has 6 TKO KOs in his 8 wins. His grappling is kind of a question mark, but we've seen a bit of it in the UFC. He's also done some IBJJF competition, so he's shown some competency in jiu-jitsu. He has a decent takedown defense, you know, but he allowed Jeremy Kimball to land a slam takedown against him, and Kimball isn't a very impressive fighter. And to his credit, he was able to reverse land a single leg of his own very quickly after. But being on bottom against St. Preux is a completely different story than against Jeremy Kimball. And he did show that he has a solid single leg. He was able to take the back of Kimball, lock in the rear naked choke. He looks to be strong. I bet he's hard to hold down. He's good in the scrambles. I find it hard to see him taking St. Preux down. St. Preux has proved his takedown defense against elite wrestlers, and he couldn't take down Jared Cannonier. And I think that Reyes should use a striking game plan. Reyes should be very careful early. I feel St. Preux is the bigger, stronger, more explosive guy early, and he should look to feel it out. You know, Pedro was able to catch and drop St. Preux with the straight, so Reyes should be able to, you know, try to do the same but finish the job. And I don't think he should throw many kicks to the body this fight because he could get taken down or countered or KO'd off those kicks. And he sometimes gets himself off balance with those. But if he could use the straight punches and use a lot of lateral movement to frustrate St. Preux, he could take a decision or catch him coming in with a KO. But I'm going to go with Ovid St. Preux in this fight. I don't think that Reyes has felt what a guy like OSP is capable of. You know, he's never been in there with that kind of explosive athlete. St. Preux played football at a real D1 powerhouse in Tennessee, man. I see a lot of people talking about Don Reyes was a football player. I mean, at Stony Brook. I mean, St. Preux played at Tennessee. That's a big difference, man. And, you know, I think that the difference is the athleticism level. I think that Ovid St. Preux is a better athlete, but I just don't think that Reyes has seen the kind of athlete that can close the distance and finish the job like St. Preux can. And I actually see St. Preux close the distance in this fight, lay some big shots, maybe even ultimately try to get it to the ground. And I think he's going to finish Don Reyes in round number 1. So I'm going to go with Ovid St. Preux by first round KO TKO. And up next we have Tony Ferguson, and he's going to be taking on Anthony Pettis. And this is a spectacular fucking fight, man. Tony Ferguson is back, one of my favorite fighters of all time. You have to respect this guy for what he does. Very, very, very similar to a guy like the Diaz brothers, Nick Diaz. Just someone, Gilbert Melendez, Diego Sanchez, just someone that comes to war. He's not looking to point fight. He's not looking to go to a decision. He's looking to fucking take your head off, take your arm off, you know, put you to sleep. He's looking to take you the fuck out. And he's won 10 fights in a row, but he's coming back from a pretty gruesome knee injury. He's coming back really fast. And I really want to see this fight, man. I really hope they tape down all the fucking wires, all the cables. They get Tony in a fucking glorified room. And just this fight goes down along with the main event, man. They need to get, like, all 4 of those fools, like, in fucking quarantined till next Saturday. But you know, Tony Ferguson's a monster, man. He's relentless. He goes up to Big Bear. He creates his own training camp, and he just wants it, man. He trains like a savage. He goes on 6-mile runs at 1 a.m. His work ethic is unbelievable. You know, he's always using these unorthodox new training techniques you see him putting out. He's always working on, you know, what's it called? Conditioning his body, conditioning his chin, conditioning his shins, and you know, he's extremely well-rounded. He usually strikes until you go for a desperate shot. He'll catch you in a choke, or he'll just knock you the fuck out. And he's very long. He uses that very well. He has extreme forward pressure, man. He enters the pocket with long uppercuts, good straight punches, good front kicks to the body, hard inside leg kicks, jabs, and he just throws so much variety and volume. He just breaks you down. His jab is nasty. He really bloodies the opponent's face with it when he lands that. He'll follow it up with a 2, and he gets really funky with unorthodox combinations. Like he'll throw a 1-2 jab, then he'll throw a spinning elbow to a freaking front elbow to the face, where he's just like flowing in there, man. It looks like he's almost dancing. He has footwork like no one else in MMA history. He switches stances constantly. He loves to land a long-range shot orthodox, like an uppercut or a straight, and then switch crash southpaw with lead hooks. And his head is always moving. You'll literally, always be moving his head in the pocket. Great, rolling with the punches. Does a great job slipping punches in the pocket. And very quick, great hand speed, big power. He can knock you out with one shot, but he's mostly an accumulation striker. He does square up with his opponents at times, and it makes him susceptible to body shots, but it also makes him a bit dangerous from both sides. And he has some of the best lead elbows in the UFC, man. He throws front elbows, regular elbows, crashing elbows, slashing elbows. He cuts the shit out of people, man. You see, like, Josh Thompson, when he cut him, like, the look on his face was like pure desperation, man. He cut the shit out of Edson Barbosa, cut Kevin Lee up. I mean, everyone he fights, he cuts him up with those elbows, man. And his pressure is absolutely relentless. When he feels guys slowing down, he literally will chase him down. You saw that against Barbosa. And great knees to the body. Really starts attacking the body. When he sees you start to slow down, he'll really pick up the pace and just put you away, man. Usually midway through the second round, you see the demeanor of his opponents change because he puts so much damage on guys. They become defensive. They start moving backwards. And he's just a phenomenal warrior, man. He gets hit. He does not care, man. He walks forward. He eats the shots. He has an iron will. And people say he has a bad chin because he gets dropped. But, in his fight with Lando Venata, that was a very weird way that he got dropped. He caught the kick of Lando Venata, and Lando Venata was able to throw a head kick off one leg, and Tony ducked right into the head kick, and he still couldn't get knocked out off of that. In my opinion, he's very similar to Nick Diaz in terms of his chin, where maybe people think that because he gets dropped, that shows that he has a poor chin, but in my opinion, he's going to the ground. He's doing all those Granby rolls, all that craziness on the ground because he's so supremely confident that no one's going to do anything to him off of his back. You're not going to hurt him with ground and pound. You're not going to hurt him with submission. So he just goes down, man, and he feels more comfortable recovering on the ground when he gets rocked a little bit than he does on his feet. And Nick Diaz did that same thing, and Nick Diaz never got finished by fucking anyone, man. So, Ferguson not only is a dangerous striker, but he's a phenomenal submission grappler. He's a 2-time college wrestling national champion. He possesses some of the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC. He has sick darces and guillotines. He'll lock him in from standing position, snap his opponent down, snap down city, and finish that choke. His long arms allows him to have one of the best darces in MMA history. And he's very hard to take down, and I would be shocked if Pettis is able to take Ferguson down. He will do crazy things such as rolling for leg locks in the middle of the fight, Imanari rolls, and he has no problem being off his back. He's incredible off his back, man. 10th planet black belt. He'll lock up his high guard or his rubber guard, land hard cutting elbows while looking for arm bars and triangles. He's always trapping a wrist, controlling the wrist, landing elbows. He'll look for, leg locks, sweeps. He's always has a very solid get-up game as well when he wants to get up, but he loves to just put himself in his guard. He'll get butterfly hooks where he's pushing you out, where it makes it very hard for you to land ground and pound, controls a wrist, and just starts going to town with big elbows, man. He can cut people up, and he really, when he's on his back, he's not in any danger whatsoever. He's the one that's putting his opponents in danger, But when you pass his guard, like Kevin Lee was able to put him in bout. And he was able to kind of get out of bout before the end of that round. He kind of moved to half guard. So, he was able to survive that. And he's someone that, you're going to have to put this dude out unconscious, man. You're not going to be able to, TKO him in a position where he's going to give up and roll to his back, or he's going to just stop defending shots and cover up. That's never going to happen. You're never going to see Tony Ferguson pulling like a Conor McGregor against Nate Diaz where he turns his back and gives up the choke. Tony Ferguson would rather, get his head smashed in than for that to happen. And same thing with submissions, man. I don't think that Tony Ferguson is going to submit to anything, man. I think he'd rather be like Renzo Gracie and have you snap his arm than submit to a submission. So I really think that Tony Ferguson is that guy. And I see Ferguson using a similar game plan to the one he used versus Edson Barbosa. Extreme pressure, smothering the kicking game of Pettis, keeping the jab in his face, beating him up to the body. And if Ferguson can keep Pettis on the back foot, keep his elite volume and pace on him, and just survive that first round where I think that he's going to be susceptible to getting knocked out because he's open, but he also is going to put a ton of damage on fucking Pettis, man. And Pettis has been getting finished in recent fights. You know, everyone I feel like, I really love Pettis too. He's one of the premier range strikers in the UFC still. He's still a beast, man. He has some of the best jiu-jitsu, but I feel like after every fucking win, man, people want to come out and say, oh, Showtime's back, like we're going to anoint this fool, like off a win over Michael Chiesa. Like, man, he just lost to Dustin Poirier, November of 2017, where he got dominated in that fight and quit. So it's like, and then it's not, and he lost to Max Holloway by TKO. It's not like he's all of a sudden came back on this big run where he's winning 4 fights in a row, and we're going to be saying Showtime's back. He had a great performance against Michael Chiesa, and Michael Chiesa still won the first round, man. He still closed the distance very easily against Anthony Pettis, and if he allows Tony Ferguson to close the distance like that, Tony Ferguson's going to be hitting him with punches and shots. He's not going to be just looking for a takedown where Pettis only has to worry about the takedowns, man. And I think he's going to beat up Pettis. If he can really put that pressure on Pettis and Pettis doesn't have that lateral movement on point, I think he's going to really, really beat up Pettis. But Pettis has extremely fast kicks. His left body kick is one of the nastiest body kicks in MMA history. He's fast. He likes to switch stances. Use the opposite stance so you can land those, and he'll use like the opposite stance that you're using so he can land the body kicks. So if you're going southpaw, he'll go orthodox. If you go orthodox, he'll go southpaw. He uses a lot of feints and fakes. He doesn't really throw a lot of volume, but he keeps you guessing. He keeps you off balance. He'll land big, hard shots. He has a nice check left hook, good straight right hand. He was landing that straight right hand very effectively against Chiesa, walking him into it. He has gotten much better at using lateral movement, running his opponents into his punches. And he'll need to have that lateral movement on point, better than any fight I've ever seen in his career. And, you know, he will open up. He'll start to throw some crazy kicks at times. He has spinning roundhouse kicks, the kicks off the cage, jumping roundhouses, spinning heel kicks. And when you give him space and you let him strike, he's an elite striker, man. But when you pressure him, jam his kicks, get him moving backwards, he's much less effective. And I think he still has a sick chin, man. He's still very hard to put away, but it's definitely going away. Definitely been taking a lot of damage. And Pettis struggles with guys that push him against the cage, get on his legs. His wrestling is very suspect. He struggles to stop himself from being held against the cage as well, being taken out with chain wrestling. And when he's taken down, he doesn't have a very good get-up game, but his jiu-jitsu from his guard is next level as well, man. He does a great job controlling the wrist. He'll attack with triangles. He throws his legs up extremely fast. He'll attack with a slick guillotine. Very nice arm bars. He had a nasty triangle arm bar in his last fight against Michael Chiesa. Very good sweeps. He'll get in top position. But he doesn't have an amazing top game. And a lot of times he'll just get back up off top, which I was surprised in seeing in the tape. But he, you know, I think that against Tony Ferguson, I don't think he's going to be able to submit him off of his back. I mean, maybe. But I would be very surprised at that. You know, he wasn't able to submit Dustin Poirier off his back. And I think Tony Ferguson's better than Anthony Pettis is on his back than Anthony Pettis is on his back because, you know, both of them have fantastic games off the bottom, but Tony Ferguson has never gotten beat up on the ground. You know, like we saw Anthony Pettis get beat up against Dustin Poirier. Tony Ferguson has never gotten beat up on the ground. He's beating people up when he's on the ground. So, you know, I just think he's better on the ground. He's better on the I don't know if he's better on the feet, but his pressure and pace, man, his chin just breaks guys. And ultimately, I see Tony Ferguson taking this fight if he's 100%. I think he's going to walk down Pettis. I think he's going to inflict a lot of damage, man. I think he's going to hurt him to the body, land that jab, really bust Pettis' face up, land those check left hooks, land those 1-2s. And I think that he's going to really start to really put a lot of pressure and a lot of volume on Pettis, probably TKO him late in round 2. And I'm going to go with Tony Ferguson to get the win of that fight. And El Kakui's still looking square at those motherfuckers in the main event, man. He's saying, like, I want next. I'm still the real champion. He's won 11 in a row. So, I mean, Tony Ferguson is still right there. And, you know, he'd be an interesting fight with both these guys in the main event. But we're on to the fight that probably everyone, or mostly everyone's here to find out who I'm picking. It's Khabib versus Conor McGregor. And, this is one of the biggest fights in MMA history. I mean, what else can you say about it? There's a lot of bad build-up. I think this is probably the most hatred that Conor McGregor has had towards an opponent. He's had these fights where he does a lot of mental warfare, like Jose Aldo, Nate Diaz, Chad Mendes, RDA, where he's really getting in these guys' head. He's talking a lot, Eddie Alvarez. But I don't think he's ever gotten this personal where he's talking about someone's family, their father, their religion, their country, all that stuff. And, it seems like he really is a little bit agitated with Khabib, where they really maybe has a little bit more personal beef with Khabib than he has with the other guys. And, I really do think it takes a very special person, man, to show up on these big-time events, these big fights. Like, we've seen guys crumble when they get in there with Conor McGregor, man. It's a different thing, man. It's like the whole world, all the eyes are on you. And it takes a elite level mentality to be able to suppress all that and, fight to your 100%, not get thrown into all that. You saw guys like that are elite level MMA fighters, some of the best of all time, guys like Eddie Alvarez, guys like Jose Aldo. They fall susceptible to that so badly where, they even admitted to it, where Eddie was saying, he didn't come with his best game plan. He was off. So did Jose Aldo. And, that's why you have to give, like, I see a lot of people, they shit on Nate Diaz, they talk about his record, all that, but you have to give the ultimate respect to a competitor like that, man. Nate Diaz is a special person, man. It takes a special person to show up and just not be affected by all that. Nate Diaz wasn't affected at all by any of that, and that's why, he was able to really push Conor and give him incredible fights, and both guys were able to really showcase their skills at the highest level and really elevate the sport, man. And I really hope Khabib is another one of those special people that's able to really show up in these big moments, because we really don't know, man. I mean, in my opinion, I think Khabib is. I think these guys from, Russia, from Dagestan, they live hard fucking lives, man. And there's going to be a point where if Khabib loses this fight, I mean, in my opinion, he's still going to be a big name to the MMA fans. He's still going to be, revered. Obviously, he's going to get some more big fights. He's probably going to win some marquee matchups, but that's going to define his whole career. That's going to define his whole legacy. If he goes in here and gets starched by Conor McGregor in the first round, that's going to define Khabib as a fighter until the day that he dies, man. People are going to know him as, that fool that ran in there and got knocked out by Conor McGregor, So just like Jose Aldo, you see Jose Aldo has all these accomplishments. He's the most accomplished featherweight of all time. And all really mostly anyone ever harps on is the fact that he got slept by Conor McGregor, man. And it's a shame. But, this is a much bigger, in my opinion, a much bigger fight for the legacy of Khabib than Conor McGregor, because if Conor loses, he's already cemented himself, man, where he's in a spot where if he loses, I mean, maybe it'll have a small effect on his brand, but everyone's going to remember Conor McGregor, as this guy that's a phenom. He came in, he completely changed the game. His legacy is cemented already, where people already have, at the end of his career, the narrative is already kind of written on what his career is gonna be, man. Even though he has a lot of chance to kind of get a lot more history, it's just like he's already cemented as an all-time great, where I feel Khabib is as well, but maybe not to the mainstream public. And if he loses this fight, that's what he's going to be known for. Always going to be known for. So this is a much bigger fight in my opinion, in terms of Khabib's legacy than Conor's legacy. And Khabib has to go in there and he has to show up, man. He can't freeze up in the moment, and we're going to see if he's able to do it. But Conor McGregor, we're going to get down to the skill set. He's one of the best strikers in the history of MMA, man. He likes to walk down his opponents with his hands low. He gives them the illusion that he's open to be hit. And then he'll land his famous pull counter left hand and knock people the fuck out. He has a great kicking game, and that's what mainly sets up his punches. He uses nice inside-outside leg kicks against Nate Diaz, and commonly uses that oblique kick to the knee. He has a nasty front stab kick to the body. He really takes the steam out of his opponents with that kick. You saw that against Chad Mendes, especially. And, You know, he has some nice spinning kicks, good capoeira kicks, but I highly doubt we'll see any of that type of craziness in this fight. I do think Conor will throw the occasional front kick to the body and the oblique kick, because I think it's going to be able to stymie the forward pressure of Khabib a little bit. And Conor's immensely aware in the cage. He's extremely calm, man, in the fire. Just so calm. I mean, that's one of the main things that you see about him, where he's analyzing, he's reading every second he's in there. He's always alert. He's on 100%. He's in a... What am I trying to think? He's in like a zone state, you know. He's not thinking about anything. He's just completely in the moment, and you know, his power is incredible, man. He has you know, some of the best power in the UFC and arguably UFC history, and you know, some of the best accuracy in UFC history as well. You can't take anything away from this guy. His striking is just absolutely incredible, you know, and once he can get guys coming in, he can hit some big shots in the pocket, big uppercuts. His combinations are extremely fast, extremely crisp. And, you know, he has probably the best boxing in the UFC, man, especially early. And, you know, Khabib has to be very, very, very careful closing the distance. And I would say Conor's wrestling is a bit underrated. He has a good double leg takedown, very nice single legs. And his defensive wrestling is pretty good, but his footwork, for one, it makes him very hard to time a shot on or get in on a body lock, and he has phenomenal balance in the cage. He never gets out of position or makes himself easily taken down. He has a very nice sprawl, very strong in the clinch. He's able to muscle his opponents. But, you know, this is going to be one of these fights where I don't think he's going to have that luxury. He's fought a lot of guys that he's bigger and stronger than, and he's not going to be able to muscle himself out of clinch situations in this fight. He was taken down by an explosive wrestler with well-timed shots in Chad Mendes, but Khabib doesn't really possess that. And Khabib kind of likes to really just grab a hold of you from the outside. If he doesn't get a clinch takedown, he likes to kind of like grab the single leg dive on it and hold on it for dear life. But he doesn't have like explosive doubles or single legs where he's really diving into his shots. And, you know, if he gets McGregor stuck against the cage, you know, like Nate Diaz was able to get him up against the cage for portions of the fight, and he was able to get deep on several double legs, but Conor was able to defend nicely. Ultimately, he did get a trip takedown in the clinch, and if McGregor allows Khabib to get in these positions against the cage, I believe we'll undoubtedly see him end up on his back. He has shown some good BJJ. You know, he had a nice sweep with the Z-guard against Nate Diaz. He didn't have much off his back against Chad Mendes. He was really beat up with some big elbows. He was controlled. But he has one of the best chins, you know, in the division, in my opinion. He has a great chin. And he does have the tendency to gas out, though, and he finds a way out when he gets tired. We saw that against Nate Diaz. And he needs to keep his composure here. He can't get tired. And if he starts to wear down and makes himself more easily corralled on the feet for Khabib, that's going to be the end. That's going to start to be the beginning of the end for him. He can't let himself get backed up behind the black line either. He needs to stay in the center of the cage. And anytime he's back near the cage, he should act like it's lava, man. Circle out. And this is a winnable fight for both guys. But with the layoff effect, McGregor, you know, we're going to have to wait and see. But I'm going to have to... I think that Conor, you know, what he needs to do is... you know, he should walk forward, in my opinion, and pressure Khabib, get Khabib moving backwards, but stay in the middle of the cage. Use that lateral movement to cut off the cage and not let Khabib push him back against the cage, because if he lets Khabib get his back against the cage and shoot and get a hold of him, he's going to go to the ground. I mean, it's just inevitable. So he needs to have that lateral movement absolutely on point and kind of try to walk Khabib into shots, you know, walk him into the left hand. And he needs to pressure him too, you know, get Khabib moving backwards and get Khabib uncomfortable, where Khabib isn't the one always, you know, controlling the forward motion, because Khabib is pretty good at, once he can control the forward motion, he can get you to the cage, man. He did that against Michael Johnson. He did it against Barbosa. And just, I believe Conor's an underrated grappler. Khabib is an underrated striker. He has a solid jab, tricky boxing. Does a good job coming to the fight with a great game plan and executing it to a T. You know, against a very dangerous kicker like Edson Barbosa. He weighed forward with looping hooks, uppercuts. He made Barbosa fight on the back foot because he knew it took away the kicks, and Barbosa wasn't a big boxer where he's dangerous enough to plant his feet and really catch him with a punch coming in. And he was able to land a lot of big shots on Barbosa and take him down easily, man, and took away the kicks. And against the crafty southpaw with good lateral movement like Michael Johnson, he was much more cautious closing the distance. He walked him down with a high guard, and he waited until he got near the cage with his opponent. Then he closed the distance. He took him down, and he got the takedown, and he just went to work. But Michael Johnson was able to show that with good lateral movement, good straight punching power, you may be able to tag Khabib up a little bit. You could touch him up, but I think it's a little bit overblown, the fact that they're saying that he got hurt or like really felt those punches, because he didn't get dropped. It's not like he stopped coming forward. It didn't affect him that much, But he does a good job of faking a level change, coming back up top with a nice shovel hook. He has a good 1-2. He likes to close distance with flying knees. But at the end of the day, all of his striking is to close the distance, get a hold of you. And his chin, Conor McGregor says he has a glass jaw, but, we've never seen him dropped in his entire MMA career. So at this point, you have to say he has a pretty good chin. And he's an astonishing grappler. He's a master of sport in Sambo and judo. He's a black belt in judo, actually. He's a master of sport in Sambo, sorry. He has a wide array of takedown attempts in the sport. Probably the widest array of takedown attempts in the sport. And he has great double legs, and he can take his opponents for a ride with big slams. He'll literally jump on a single leg, grab a hold of the leg like it's life or death until he drags you to the mat. He doesn't mind taking ugly shots, because all he needs to do is get a hold of you. Then he sticks to you like a magnet, man. He sticks to his opponents like glue. And even if he doesn't get the initial takedown, he'll lock his hands together in a clinch. He'll chain wrestle until he gets what he wants. Great body locks, inside trips. He's relentless, switching back and forth until he gets the takedown. He also has great suplexes. He has very nice hip tosses. When he gets on top, he has very good top control. He does a great job of minding the legs, slowly working his way to mount. Also loves to get a 2-on-1 wrist control, beats opponents up, and really traps their arm and just beats them up with the other hand. And just this phenomenal guard passer. He'll move right into mount, throw big ground and pound shots. He loves to get that mounted crucifix position, throw big elbows. And he really drains the energy of his opponents. Everyone was talking about that first shot against Michael Johnson, but after he landed that takedown, landed those ground and pound shots, Michael Johnson had nothing for the rest of the fight. The fight was over after that. He really drains the energy of his opponents, even with one takedown. And he has a nasty kimura. He actually has good triangles, good sweeps off his back. Khabib has great cardio. He puts some pressure on fighters that breaks them. And he needs to close the distance immediately. He always needs to be very close to Conor. He can't give up any space to breathe in the stand-up. If he makes this fight on the outside for any meaningful period of time, he's in very big danger, And when he gets Conor to the ground, he needs to do a lot of damage, really hurt McGregor, really take a lot out of him, because for the start of the next round, he needs to have a little bit easier to take down. And then once he gets in that rhythm, if he does get in that rhythm where he starts taking it down, Conor gets slower and, easier to take down the next round, then Conor's in for a long night, like Khabib says. But ultimately, man, this is a hard pick for me. But, I think if Conor McGregor was active, he was fighting, and he didn't have all this extracurricular shit, man, like where he had that thing with the Irish mob, where they apparently had like a hit out on him or something, and then he had that problem with Mark Goddard multiple times, where he had that problem with Mark Goddard in the fight with Artem Lobov. Then he had another problem with Mark Goddard where he slapped someone in the face. He pushed the ref. Then he had the Dolly incident. So he's had a lot of, things going on where you have to wonder if he's been training this whole time, like what he's been doing. He's opening up a Proper 12 whiskey. He just opened up a clothing brand. So, he's doing a lot of other stuff. And Khabib, man, you see his face. He looks like he got fucked up this training camp. Like, he just went through a fucking war zone. Like, he has bruises all over his face. So, you could take that how you want. You could take that he's overtrained. He's going to get finished early. He's out overworking himself. Or you could take that, like, Khabib's been in there putting in that absolute work like a madman. And he's going to go in there and humble this guy. He's going to finish off what he's been wanting to do for a long time and really cement himself as the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. And I'm going to go with Khabib. I'm going to say Khabib wins by third round submission. And the reason why I say that is because I just think Khabib wants it more, man. I think he wants it more, and I think he needs it more for his career, man. Conor McGregor is a rich guy. He's set. And I'm sure he's going to, I don't want to take away from him as a competitor. He's going to go in there. He's going to do his best. He's going to try to find the win. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, if he gets a knockout, even if he got a knockout in 20 seconds, I mean, who could say they'd be that extremely surprised? I mean, he's proven it time and time again, but I just think that Khabib has been more active. He wants it more. He needs it more. And I think Khabib's going to find a third-round submission. I think he'll win via third-round Kimura. And I think it's going to be a fun fight while it lasts. I think Khabib may even get dropped, maybe. But I think Khabib is going to show he has a good chin. And I do think Khabib is one of these guys that's an animal, man. I think that you're going to have to kill him. You're going to have to knock him out completely unconscious to stop him from getting to come forward, stop him from getting to try to get those takedowns, stop him from trying to utilize his game plan. And that's why I'm going to go with Khabib to get the win here. But to be honest with you, I'm not really convicted in that. I don't have a strong lean either way. So if you're really trying to, bet heavy on that fight one way or the other, I would look at other people's breakdowns, try to find someone that's very, maybe has a very big lean one side or the other. They could give you a good argument and pick who you think could win there. Because like I said, I'm kind of struggling with my pick on that fight, and it's a very close fight. So, I'm going to give you guys some gambling advice now for the betting advice. And, I think there's some spots here that you could use, for the first, for Tony Martin. I actually did put a play on Tony Martin as an underdog, so I do have a bet on him as we speak. So that's one play that I have done. I also have a bet on Felice Herrig as well. And, I think a good bet could potentially be Alexander Volkov inside the distance, Vincente Pruex inside the distance, Tony Ferguson inside the distance, I think is a good bet. I think that maybe if you want to go with Tanya Evinger as a submission play, I'm sure that Tanya Evinger for submission is going to be a high prop. I think that for the parlay of the week, though, I'll probably go with Yannick Kunitskaya and Alan Patrick. That's going to be my parlay of the week. And for my most confident pick of the card, I would probably say it's going to be Alan Patrick. And I just think that, he's going to be able to grind this fight out. Scott Holtzman's been taking on a lot of times in his career. And while he does have good takedown defense and, pretty good scrambling ability, I think that the black belt Patrick's going to be able to grind him out. And Yana Kunitskaya, I think she's just younger, bigger, better athlete, and she wants it more than Lita. And, I am picking quite a few upsets in this fight, in this card, so hopefully that works out for me. But once again, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for checking it out. Subscribe, share, like it if you like. Comment below. Tell me who you think's going to win the Khabib fight, who you think's going to win all these fights, And if you like this video, man, share it with your friends, man. Try to send it out. I want to try to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We just broke the 700 subscriber mark, so that's awesome. I really appreciate all you guys, and I really enjoy breaking down these fights. And I'm going to be doing the Bellator card next week. I don't know if I'm going to do both main cards or just one. Most likely I'll probably do both, though. So be on the lookout for that, and hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching, and look forward to UFC 229.